Good morning, everyone. It is the January Cybersecurity Meetup here at Alvarez Technology Group, and I want to welcome you. I am Luis Alvarez, and I am joined today by Jeff Dix and Anil Melwani. We are excited that you're here, and we're going to be talking about endpoint security and how that world is evolving and changing. As always, there's a Q&A button that you are free to use and ask us questions, and we want this to be as interactive as possible. We will also be recording the session and making the recording available on our YouTube page through our website sometime in the next week or so. So feel free to share that with your friends and let them know. But in the meantime, let's just dive right into our subject. Endpoint security, managed detection and response. Anil, what is that? Talk about that.
So let's say, in a nutshell, there's traditional antivirus that everybody's used to, from names like Symantec or Norton, if you're as old as I am, back before Symantec owned them, where antivirus is on your machine. It gets what are called definition files from the vendor. It says, here are all the viruses that I know about, and here's how you deal with them. That's your traditional antivirus. And what we're looking at today is more endpoint detection and response, or managed detection and response, where the antivirus software, and you don't even really call it antivirus anymore, is smart enough not to need definitions. It kind of learns how you use your computer and what the files are, and it does a bunch of technical algorithms to know if files get changed unnecessarily, things like that, so that it can keep up with what we call in the industry zero-day issues. These are vulnerabilities that come out before the antivirus vendors know about them and can release the definition files for them. So the software is, you could almost look at it almost like an AI on your machine that's keeping an eye on things, and it's like, this looks a little different. I'm going to stop it before it does anything malicious.
So, Jeff, why are we talking about endpoint MDR today? What's going on in the industry? Why is MDR now a hot topic?
Well, I think MDR is a hot topic mainly because of the ransomware events, the many ransomware events that businesses have been experiencing over the last several years. As Anil mentioned, just the signature-based anti-malware systems was not enough, because unless you're looking at behavior, you're not going to be able to stop a ransomware attack. So a ransomware attack is where you get some malware on your PC from a link or from an email, and that malware starts encrypting files on your computer and any computer that your computer has access to, including potentially company shares. And it was very, very difficult to prevent that from occurring with the older anti-malware systems that are out there. So managed detection and response gives you the ability to, for that software that runs on your system, to detect that something's being encrypted. And if it becomes excessive, like more than encrypting a file that a person might do on their system, then it can stop that encryption. And or it could potentially take more further action, such as disconnecting the system from the network so that it isolates that system. So it's really sort of upping the game in the fight against malware by having the ability of the protection system to take more proactive action than traditional anti-malware programs have had in the past. And it's becoming more and more important, because cyber insurance companies that write cyber insurance are now looking for that in their clients that they're going to be writing insurance for. So if you don't have an enterprise, well, maybe not enterprise, but certainly a managed detection and response system that's modernized, you're going to either not get cyber insurance for your organization, or it will be super expensive. And so that's sort of the driving factor, I think, is the threatscape today with ransomware, and the cyber insurance companies really requiring it for organizations that they write insurance for.
Yeah, and we're also seeing it in those industries that have that are regulated and are required to comply with certain regulations like PCI, FTC, SEC, FINRA, FDIC. There's several of them out there. DoD has just issued the final draft rule for the CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model certification that we've talked about in the past. And if we have time at the end of this session, we can dive back into that and talk a little bit about what that looks like. So we've been using for our clients for years enhanced detection and response, which means that we had multiple layers of protection, anti-malware, and then on top of that, software that would let us alert us if something went on and take some action, but really it would be dependent upon us to take the drastic action of either isolating that system or trying to isolate the infection. We're switching to MDR because not only is it required by insurance companies and these compliance rules, but really it makes sense. It's the next level of protection, and it does some things like you pointed out that traditional anti-malware doesn't do. And one of the benefits too of the product that we're going to be using is that it has a 30-day log retention period, so that when you have an incident that potentially could lead to a breach, you now have you can go back at least a month to take a look at those logs and say, okay, when did we initially detect something that could have led to this incident? Because what do they say now? The bad guys, when they breach one of their victims, they're there for up to 18 to 24 months. Working on the network.
They can be in there for a long period of time. And I'm glad you mentioned the logging. One of the things too is if you are unfortunate to have like a ransomware event in your organization, and you call first thing you do is you call your cyber insurance company, and then your cyber insurance company will be in charge of your recovery. And they're going to bring in their forensics team to come in to figure out what happened. And that's one of the things that they're most interested in finding out is all the parameters of what happened, how the person got in, how the file, the malware, got installed on the system, and from what source. And if you've got something like an MDR that has that log retention that you're talking about, Lewis, it's a lot easier. The forensics aspect of the recovery can be a lot faster than if you don't have that in place. So it's another good reason, very good reason to have an advanced system like an MDR.
Yeah, and to elaborate on what Jeff is saying, because this is the next iteration, the next step, the next level in the evolution of antivirus, a lot of these manufacturers, including the one that we're going to be partnering with for MDR, are already making it very easy to integrate with a SIM. That's short for a security incident and event manager. And that's a separate appliance or a separate, device that will sit on your network that gathers these logs from these systems and devices and network equipment and can keep it for a year, which, depending on the industry you're in, especially, FDIC or HIPAA, those cyber insurance carriers are going to need you to keep logs for a year, like a sliding 365, or in the case of 2024, a 366-day window, in order to show how far back the incident may have occurred.
Yeah, especially like banks. Banks are required to keep their logs for a year. And that, depending upon how many systems they have, that could be a lot of data. So to have a system, a modern system in place that can capture those logs and retain them without a lot of interaction from IT folks is really an important thing these days.
Yeah, and that's a good point because, managed detection and response, starts with the word managed. And what that means is that this isn't just something that you throw on a workstation or a laptop or, a server and then do nothing with it. I mean, there's some active stuff going on in the background that we will be setting up. So, we're working with a SOC, a Security Operations Center partner, that when they get an alert, they'll look at it first. And their analysts who are working 7x24 will look at that alert, if they need to, respond to that alert, and then let us know that, hey, we found this, we defeated it, here's the next steps that you need to take in order to make sure that this is completely cleaned out, or to do further investigation. So there's active management going on with an MDR that there isn't with a traditional, endpoint security product that, may alert you to say, hey, I think something's going on, figure it out. This is much more sophisticated.
Yeah, what keeps me up, or what has kept me up at night, is the fact that a quick response is critical, and we have some limited 7x24 on-call capabilities, but we really don't have the ability to respond to alerts in the middle of the night quickly. We find out about them in the morning when we get to the office, but sometimes that could be too late. So to have a SOC that's associated with the MDR platform to be that quick response and potentially take action, they could remotely disconnect the system from the network if the software hasn't done it already. They can do some initial analysis and forensics, and then let us know, if there's any further action to take. So now that we have that capability, I sleep a little bit better at night as soon as we get this deployed for all of our clients.
Yeah, we're in the process. Our goal is to get MDR rolled out over the course of the next 60 days or so to get it, replacing our traditional webroot anti-malware that we've been using for a long time. And it was a great product for its time. It did the job. It had some it's protected our clients, but now we need to up our game because it's the right thing to do, but also, quite frankly, because it's being required. If you have cyber insurance, for sure, but just in general, pretty much every industry is going to be, specifying more and more what you need to do to protect yourself, especially if you're in the supply chain of larger customers. I know, for example, that some of our ag suppliers that do business with ag companies who subsequently do business with Costco and Sam's Club and Walmart, they're being required to attest to the fact that they're implementing these protections because the suppliers or the customers at the top of the food chain, if you will, they want to make sure that they get their products from you and that you don't disrupt their supply chains. And if you're not protecting yourself and that leads to an outage, especially if you're, let's say, an ag company and you're producing bagged salads for Walmart. Walmart doesn't want their store shelves to be empty. And if you can't deliver, that's going to be a problem for them. So they want to make sure that you're following best practices for cyber hygiene, protecting yourself. So even though it may not be a requirement because you don't have cyber insurance, or maybe you don't think you have any sort of compliancy requirements, it just makes good business sense to deploy something like this in order to protect yourself more proactively than waiting to be a victim of a cybercrime or of a potential cybercrime. Because like we said, sometimes the bad guys get in there and they're poking around for a long time before they act on that breach. And in the meantime, you're unaware. And an MDR is just one tool that will help you not become a victim. It's not the only thing. That's why we use multiple layers of protection for our clients. But it's an important tool, and it is kind of the tip of the spear, right? Because we deploy it on every endpoint that we have on our networks.
Yeah, so, and I'd like to just follow up on your comments about the cyber insurance. We still have some clients that don't have cyber insurance or don't think they need it. From my point of view, I think it's crazy in this day and age with all the threats that are out there not to have cyber insurance. And one of the things that prompted us to move to an enterprise level managed detection and response system was that our cyber insurance partner, who we refer to our clients to for insurance, actually said, hey, you guys have, WebRoot and Huntress are the two products we're currently using, which have, as Louis mentioned, have done a very good job of preventing really bad things from happening. But it wasn't on the cyber insurance company's approved list of anti-malware systems. So they want to see our customers have a higher level of protection. And in addition to the additional of the MDR and all the other security services we offer, our cyber insurance company that we work with will actually pre-approve or certainly make the insurance questionnaire a lot shorter than previously. So that's also in the benefit of in the interest of our clients to have that insurance and to up their game as far as what they are using for protection on their endpoints.
Yeah, and the cybersecurity threat landscape is ever evolving. I mean, it changes on a daily basis, and even those of us, out in the world that this isn't our profession, hear about it on a daily basis. It was just a massive breach of 26 billion records in China that I read about earlier this week.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Boggles the mind, There was,
how much data is that anyway?
Yeah, that's a lot of data. Well, and just to show that it can happen to anybody. Did you read about the Microsoft executive whose account got hacked by what they think is a Russian cyber criminal gang? And this is Microsoft we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft can afford the best protection in the world. They can do, all of the things that most of us wish we could do. But yet they were victimized. So it's up to us to try our best to do what we can. Because like I tell folks when I talk to them and they tell me, well, we're a small company. We're located in, Salinas, California, or Watsonville, or Pacific Grove. And the bad guys don't care about me. And I always point out, on the internet, every company is equal. And they're out there.
Get past your firewall and see what's behind it. You're still a target because they may not know what's behind the firewall, but if they can get through that or get somebody on the inside to click on a link or download something that gives them access, and there's a lot of what we call junior threat actors. They're just wanting to cause mischief and see what they can do, and they're learning their chops, right? So it doesn't have to be a DoD customer or a large organization. It can be a very small organization.
Yeah, there's some great questions coming in. I want to refer to a couple of them that in case.
Yeah, sorry, I've been answering some here, and I was going to bring up a couple as well for additional information as we were going on. Please go ahead, Louis.
One of the questions is, does Microsoft Office have some sort of protection against, like an MDR-like product? And the answer is no, not in and of itself. I mean, Microsoft, if you look at the terms and conditions of their licensing to you, all they guarantee is that you will have access to the product. They don't guarantee the integrity of the data. They don't guarantee that your data can't be altered. They don't guarantee that your data can be stolen. All they say is, hey, you have the platform, you can use it. But many people are under the misconception that, well, Microsoft does backups, Microsoft does some sort of security on their platform, and they offer it. I mean, they do give you the option to add those services, but it costs you extra. So just because you use a product like Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace doesn't mean that you're protected and your data is protected. So it's up to you and to us to provide those additional layers of security. It used to be one of the other questions that I saw was, is having a backup of your files good enough? And the answer is not really. I'll give you
how long you want to be down for?
Yeah, I'll give you a real world example that's very public. So I'm not talking out of school. As many of us on the meetup know, last year Hartnell College was hit with a massive ransomware attack. All of their systems, all of their servers, many of their PCs were encrypted. And the encryption was so thorough that when the forensics team that the cyber insurance company contracted with came in to try to figure out who the bad guys were, or what was the encryptor that was used, or trying to find signatures of who potentially the cyber criminal gang could be, the systems were literally bricked. They couldn't install any of their tools. They couldn't do anything because they were no longer functional. And so the college, rather than trying to, restore their data, because they had nowhere to restore their data to, there was just no functioning systems. They decided to, basically rebuild their environment in the cloud, and that's, where they're at. So they're still in the process of that a year later. And it's going to take, another year to 2 years before they're fully recovered from, this attack. And it's impacted their ability to do business in a big way. And fortunately, their student systems are all cloud-based, and it hasn't impacted the academic side of things, but it definitely has impacted the business side of things. So, protecting against that is what we're trying to do. And we assume, just the way that we build the layers of protection around our clients is, we're going to assume that at some point the bad guys are going to get through. We have to make that assumption, because otherwise we live in a fantasy world, and we're not really focusing on the recover part of the NIST framework, right? The ability to recover from a breach. So that's what MDR does. MDR is on these endpoints looking for bad behavior, and when it detects it and it's serious enough, it tries to stop it. And if it can't stop it, it will isolate that system completely. It will say, okay, this system is no longer going to be able to communicate with anything else on the network until we can get in there and investigate what's going on. And all that happens in the background, virtually within minutes of it detecting bad behavior.
Yeah, backups are really important, and they can save you. And that, when ransomware first started coming out, that was the focus on, as long as I've got good backups, I can recover my systems. And so that was sort of the approach early on. But then the cyber insurance companies, started getting involved, because they're writing insurance policies for all these companies that need, be protected against an event like ransomware. But then it went from, okay, we can recover our own systems if we get hit. Maybe that takes us a few days to restore servers or restore whatever systems were encrypted. But when the cyber insurance companies got involved, now they're in charge of the recovery, right? And it's not a quick recovery. It's not like, we can get back up and running in a couple of days. If you have an event with a cyber insurance company involved, they're going to do their forensics. They're going to take their time. It's going to be weeks and possibly months, and possibly many months, before you get operational access of your IT systems back. And who can withstand, not having access to their IT systems for a couple of months? It's going to drive, you're going to get some insurance money for your loss of business operations and to recover your systems. But what do you do about the reputational damage, the customers you're going to lose because you didn't have access to your IT systems for weeks or months? So it's critical on the front end now is to do everything we can to prevent a ransomware event from happening or minimizing it, and then your long-term recovery and to save your business's data is in your backups. So that's sort of been a shift of approach.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, you need to have good backups, and it is critical that you include that as part of your disaster recovery planning and business continuity planning, because it is part of the incident response, right? At some point, you're going to need to get your data back, and if you find a cyber criminal that is good enough to have a decryptor that actually works, because as we know from experience, the decryptors, sometimes are 50-50 that it'll work. And I will give the cyber criminals credit, because when you tell them, hey, it's not working, they'll work with you to try to resolve it, because they want that decryption. They want
to save their reputation as being good cyber criminals.
Their reputation as a criminal that delivers on a ransomware payment needs to stay up there. But
they feel some sort of obligation, since you paid them $100,000 to get your data back, that you actually get your data back. I guess that there might be some ethics in with cyber criminals.
Yeah, some, but
yeah, not much.
Yeah. But so it's that for us, MDR is just a natural evolution of the security stack that we have implemented to help our clients, and it's a good move for us to do, and in most cases, because the majority of our clients have cyber insurance policies or are looking to get them.
There's some holdouts though.
Yeah, it's something that we needed to do, you're going to see it over the course of the next few weeks as we roll it out, and we think it's going to be seamless. You won't even see it happening. It'll all be happening in the background with the magic of our awesome Ops Center team doing their job and making sure that it gets taken care of. But it's something that is just another layer, just like some of the other things that we're finding are now requirements, like DMARC, right? Next meetup in February, by the way, that'll be February 29th, Leap Day, right? So the 29th of February, we're going to have our next meetup. And in that meetup, we're going to be talking about this new requirement for DMARC for email delivery that many of you are starting to hear about. It goes into effect actually in February, the requirements that are being levied by Google and Yahoo, but we've heard that it's not really going to be enforced until April, so we have some time to get it implemented and get it verified, but you'll learn more about that next month.
Yeah, so it's a long ramp up to DMARC. It can be, so people should plan for several months, if not more, of an implementation for DMARC.
Exactly.
And if you don't know what DMARC is, email us. We'll be happy to talk to you about it if you're concerned.
They're going to come to the meetup next month.
Exactly.
The meetup next month.
February 29th, we'll be doing all things DMARC.
And we have a guest from our DMARC partner, a company called Cenmark, that we've been using to help deploy DMARC and keep it enforced. They'll be here to talk about what DMARC is, how it impacts you, the importance of it, why more and more organizations, including cyber insurance companies, are requiring the implementation of DMARC, because it just, the bottom line is cyber insurance companies, customers at the top of the supply chain, the regulatory agencies, they're just trying to minimize the damage that can be caused by cyber criminals and hackers. And in the case of cyber insurance companies, they're trying to minimize their liability in case you do get hit, because the typical ransomware event, I just read a few weeks ago, the average in 2023 was somewhere around, $1.2 million to resolve once it's all said and done. So, and that's not all the cost that the insurance company is going to reimburse, because some of those costs are not reimbursable. And, they're trying to make sure that their payouts fall. And the only way they can do that is to make sure that things like endpoint protection with MDR is deployed.
Exactly.
So with that, gentlemen, we've reached the bottom of the hour, the end of the meetup. Thank you so much. Thank you all
Thanks,
who
everybody.
attended today. Great
Get your
questions.
MDRs if you don't have them.
We answered them all. And if you have any further questions, feel free to email us, your account manager, or you can always email info@alvareztg.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Take care, all.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.